Hi, soulmates. Plenty to discuss today. It is Thursday, January 12th. Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report. I'm Courtney Hicks.
And I'm Nicordelai Corte. We are honored, as usual, to stand right here behind the desk each day to take you on a journey across Black America and the stories that impact our people.
We are committed to bringing you our news, our views, and our voice. Topping our news today, we're learning new details surrounding the shooting death of 13-year-old Karon Blake. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser confirmed the man who shot and killed Karon is a D.C. government employee. The shooting happened on Saturday morning on Quincy Street Northeast. Mayor Bowser spoke about the tragedy at a community meeting this week as well.
What makes me so sick is that we have a 13-year-old that was at middle school on Thursday and Friday, and by the weekend he was dead. And sadly, it's not that different from other young people who have been killed in our city. And we know who pulled the trigger in this case. We don't always know who pulled the trigger. And in many of the cases where a young person dies, it's another young person that did the shooting. So what's the same is that we have a young person that should be alive.
The mayor added the man is on paid administrative leave at this hour. He hasn't been charged.
In Philadelphia, one of the country's oldest medical organizations is apologizing for its silence regarding the unethical scientific experimentation conducted on mostly Black people and low-income residents while they were incarcerated. The College of Physicians of Philadelphia, founded in 1787 and dubbed the birthplace of American medicine, formally acknowledged its lack of action regarding the experiments that took place at the former Holmesburg prison in Northeast Philadelphia. People at the prison were asked to participate in dermatologic scientific experiments from 1951 to 1974 in exchange for money. But survivors and medical ethics experts say those people lack true informed consent. The college event stripped Dr. Kilgman, the man who conducted the studies, of the Distinguished Achievement Award from 2003.
There's new data that has experts sounding the alarm on how allowing guns in public without permits could create an increased risk for Black Americans. This comes as half of America's states have sanctioned carrying a gun in public without first needing a license. Experts say that studies suggest permitless states could increase the current stats. Black Americans already 10 times are likely to die from gun homicides, 18 times more likely to deal with gun assaults, and 3 times more likely to be fatally shot by the police. And we talked about this, I want to say just yesterday, about, well, for me personally, I agree with, the right to bear arms. I just disagree with how we've been politicking and policing that, if you will, or how we've been laying policy on top of it, because, at the end of the day, as our culture likes to say, the human carnage is just unspeakable. And we were talking yesterday about some of the accessories that go along with these guns and just the damage that they do. And I will say, I've been in stores before, whether it's in Michigan or in other states where you can carry, and it's a little disturbing to turn around and I'm in the soup aisle and I turn around and somebody's big old gun is on the side of their hip in clear plain sight. It's just a little unnerving for me. So, I agree with the politics and the talk that needs to be centered around how we go about, making this work for everybody.
Yeah,
it's keeping people safe.
Yeah, you're right, keeping people safe, and oftentimes, Black folks don't feel safe around guns, and you just rattled off a number of statistics that illustrate exactly why we don't feel safe. I didn't grow up in a household that had guns. I have friends that did. In fact, I have friends that are proud gun owners, and I've just got to say, my reservation about it, I feel like even when we exercise our Second Amendment right as Black folks, that when people see us, with a gun, and this could be a perfectly legal gun. I think folks have a tendency to shoot first and ask questions later. And I'm thinking a lot about Philando Castile in Minnesota, who had a legal gun on him when he was pulled over by cops, and they still shot him, right? Yeah. And that happens too often than not. And so I think these concerns are founded, and we've got to look at whether or not we all really have the same Second Amendment rights, because it doesn't seem like they are recognized equally under the law.
Totally agree. Totally agree. All right, we're going to move on now, as Representative Frederica Wilson is making headlines for her sharing her struggles with motherhood. Wilson shared her experience after the Republican-led House of Representatives passed its first anti-abortion bills on Wednesday.
If abortion is banned nationwide, Florida will be the most impacted state, seeing maternal deaths increase by 29%. That's the mother. The nation will see a 24% increase in maternal death, with a disproportionate 39% rise in maternal mortality for Black women. All I ever wanted since I was a little girl was plenty of children that I could love and cuddle and raise to greatness. That was the school principal in me even back then. So after getting married in 1968, I would soon become a mother-to-be. It was the joy of my life. I was ecstatic. My husband was walking on the clouds. My husband and I would touch my stomach all the time just to feel the movement of our baby boy and the glory of a life growing inside of me. It was amazing. Then at 7 months, the baby stopped moving. He was soon pronounced dead, right inside of my womb. And the doctor was prohibited by law from inducing labor.
Wow, so emotional there. Wilson went on to tweet, quote, "Abortions don't just apply to women who've decided they are not ready to have a child. It affects women who are faced with medical emergencies."
A voting rights organization led by Stacey Abrams must pay back the state $231,000. Fair Fight Action lost its lawsuit that alleged Georgia laws violated voting rights. The suit was filed after Abrams lost to Brian Kemp in 2018. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger called the ruling a win for taxpayers.
All right, Nicordelai, let's go to your neck of the woods. Bay Area Congresswoman Barbara Lee reportedly plans to run for U.S. Senate next year. Now, according to several reports, the Congresswoman has informed fellow members of the Congressional Black Caucus of her plans and has even spoken to Senator Dianne Feinstein about her intentions. Senator Feinstein, who is 89, has not said yet whether she will seek another term. Another California Democrat Congresswoman Katie Porter from Orange County has already announced that she will run for the seat.
This year, the Mississippi Legislative Black Caucus will push to revive several initiatives. The group says they're working to ease the restoration of voting rights for former inmates, expand Medicaid, provide oversight for welfare spending, and ensure that all parts of the state have access to high-speed internet and safe drinking water. This all comes as several Mississippi hospitals are struggling to remain open because of financial problems. Lawmakers say expanding Medicaid would bring money into the healthcare system. And we certainly have talked a whole lot about Mississippi. They've been in the headlines quite a bit around getting clean drinking water there. They still are having issues with their water infrastructure there. And Mississippi rates as one of the poorest states in the United States. And so each and every one of those issues are critically important, not just to low-income folks and Black folks, but so many Mississippians that are going without right now.
Yeah, I think if you take a deeper dive, it's really about the psyche, of this country. And I know we talk a lot about greed and and humanity and those, polar opposites there. But it's so interesting because I pay attention to international news and because I like to get a take on how folks from outside of our country kind of look at us. And the ongoing theme that I always hear is, how can America, who boasts to be so powerful and is powerful in some aspects, and the greatest country in the world, not have proper, efficient, basic necessities for their citizens. We're talking about clean water. We're talking about health care. I know living so close to Canada, I'm from Detroit, you can go right across the bridge, and there's health care available for all of their citizens. And so I think we get so caught up in the politicking and the greed and this and that we forget about the welfare of the citizen that is supposed to be protected and provided for. So, for me, I go the emotional route. It's very heartbreaking. You just get tired of all the rhetoric. You want the help that you deserve and that as a taxpayer, you pay for.
Yeah. But shout out to all the organizers on the ground in places like Mississippi that are organizing around these issues. They're organizing in order to gain Medicaid expansion in Mississippi. They're organizing to get the federal dollars and state dollars to be able to invest in water infrastructure. And so we'll continue to keep our eye on what's happening in Mississippi and other parts of the country.
We will. So let's put an eye on the NFL as we move on to sports here. The general manager for the Houston Texans says the team is in the process of finding, quote, the right leadership after firing Lovie Smith this week. Smith went 3-13-1 in his one season as the Texans head coach. He was fired hours after they beat the Colts, but lost the #1 draft pick. Many are speculating that this is in direct relation to comments Smith made about a year ago when he first got the job, saying that the NFL had, quote, a problem with hiring black coaches and diversity. Now, after going through 4 different coaches in as many seasons, the Texans GM says he has to accept responsibility for the mistakes and get the next one right. Smith is the second black coach in 2 years to be relieved of his duties by the Texans.
Students within the Stoughton School District in Massachusetts are making their voices heard in a recent rally to bring back inclusivity in the classroom. Protesters draped in pride and Black Lives Matter flags protested outside a school board meeting this week in opposition to a district policy that's banned those flags in schools. The rally was organized by a student who was suspended after protesting the policy in school. The district says the ban on these kinds of flags is a result of a rule that was set by the district at the start of the school year that forbids showing, quotes, political items, which includes pride flags, Black Lives Matter signs, and law enforcement signs.
Let's go to Illinois now. We're in Evanston. Black residents are giving government officials the side eye after the reparations intended for families weren't fully distributed. Now, about 400 black residents were set to benefit from the $25,000 housing voucher program, which officials call the first phase of the Evanston Reparations Committee initiatives. The Chicago suburb initially set aside $10 million for reparations, but in 2019, 3 years later, only $400,000 has gone to 16 of the hundreds of black people who applied. Now, officials say the first payouts were to be money gained from the city's cannabis tax revenue. However, only 1 dispensary has opened as opposed to the 3 the city anticipated, bringing only a fraction of the expected revenue. And here we are, Nick Cordelai, back at this very heated, interesting, layered, I don't know if you want to call it a controversy, a discussion, a debate. You know, when you say the word reparations, you know, it blows up the spot. You appreciate the city of Evans trying to make some sort of effort, but to no avail, if you will.
Well, I mean, I think folks need to be patient. You know, Evanston was among some of the first municipalities in the country to lead on reparations and to pass some form of reparations. And, you know, these things take time. It's one thing to say, I support reparations. It's another thing as an elected leader or as a body of elected leaders to operationalize that, right? And so part of what we're seeing in Evanston, you know, is, some of the slow uptick in terms of actually operationalizing the intent to provide reparations. And so, this story could have gone a different way. It could have been, okay, the money's been all spent, and didn't hit its targets. And so, slow and steady wins the race. I'm of the school of thought that, let's give the folks in Evanston some time to get it right, so that all the other municipalities across the country and around the world that are paying attention can also get it right.
I hear you. However, I believe that there's not enough clarity in how to go about reparations. So I feel like efforts like this get lost in translation because, there's no clear, and I don't know if we can ever come up with a clear, with everybody having so many different opinions as to how we should go about reparations, or even if we should, without the clarity. I appreciate efforts like this, but I think they just they get caught up in the gray area. And as a result, we have results like this where people were promised looking forward to this money and they haven't received it.
Yeah, well, we'll continue to keep our eye on it. There certainly feels like there's a different municipality every single day that's raising their hand saying,
make it happen.
We're going to give you your money.
And we appreciate it.
And then we say, show us the money.
But we got to get it right first.
Well, coming up, a major move from Organics following their new gained popularity from a viral TikTok video.
We've been talking about that hair oil for a minute. Well, we'll tell you what's up with that and what's going on next with that company and how they will continue to enlarge their territory. Coming up on Fox Soul's Black Report.
Maybe they'll have some beard oil.
Oh, now that would be a good idea.